Hello there, my sleepy fellows. Tonight, let's take a gentle walk through the soft, glowing corridors of Hogwarts when the castle has settled into its quietest hours, when the staircases creak only softly and the portraits whisper sleepy goodnights to one another. It's in these hushed moments, when the common rooms are warm and the distant hum of magic is all that fills the halls, that the castle's oldest stories begin to stir. Some are well known, some whispered in the flickering candlelight, and some hidden away, patient, waiting for those curious enough, gentle enough to find them. Tonight, we drift quietly into one of those hidden stories, the story of the Mirror of Erised. You may have heard of it, the tall, ancient mirror, tucked away behind forgotten doors and old stone walls, its frame carved with strange, winding words, its glass shimmering not with simple reflections, but with something more. They say the mirror shows not your face, but your heart, your deepest dreams, your quietest wishes, the things you long for most, even if you never dare speak them aloud. But what else does it do? Where did it come from, and could there be more to its magic than anyone has ever truly understood? Tonight, with the soft glow of lanterns lighting our way, we'll wander down those forgotten corridors, past the sleeping suits of armor, behind the hidden doors, to gently uncover the mysterious powers of the Mirror of Erised and what it can really do. So settle in now, let your thoughts grow quiet, your breathing slow, and if you enjoy these peaceful journeys through the wizarding world, feel free to like this tale, subscribe, and drift along with us, because tonight the castle is still, the shadows are soft, and the old stories are ready to be heard. Shall we begin? The castle was quiet tonight. The soft glow of lanterns floated gently above the stone corridors, casting pools of warm light that danced softly across the ancient walls. In Gryffindor Tower, most of the students had long since drifted into peaceful sleep, their dreams filled with Quidditch matches, spells, and whispered stories of magical adventures. But in the common room, where the fire crackled low and the windows framed the star-scattered sky, three familiar figures sat quietly. Harry Potter, his unruly dark hair casting faint shadows across his forehead, green eyes bright with quiet thought, sat curled in his favorite armchair by the hearth, the flickering light glinting softly off his round glasses. Beside him, Hermione Granger sat cross-legged on the rug, a thick, weathered book resting open on her knees, her bushy hair tumbling around her face as she flipped gently through the pages. And Ron Weasley, perched on the arm of another chair, nibbling absent-mindedly on a chocolate frog, his freckled face alight with curiosity, though his eyelids drooped slightly with sleepiness. The hour was late, but their conversation drifted on, low, quiet, full of that gentle, thoughtful wonder that only comes when the castle has settled and the night feels endless. "I read about it again today," Hermione murmured, tracing her finger along a line in the book. "The Mirror of Erised." Ron tilted his head. "You mean that weird old mirror? Didn't Dumbledore move it somewhere after, first year?" Harry's gaze softened, his thoughts drifting for a moment, remembering the tall, golden-framed mirror, the way it had shown him, his family. He nodded quietly. No one knows where it is now, but it's still here, somewhere. Hermione closed the book gently, her voice barely louder than the crackle of the fire. The thing is, I've been reading, and there are hints that the mirror might be more than just a reflection. Ron raised an eyebrow. What? Like, shows your future, or tells you the answer to Snape's homework? A soft laugh escaped Hermione. No, but maybe there's more to its magic than anyone realized. They fell into a peaceful silence again, the firelight flickering, the castle breathing gently around them, and in that quiet, curious space between dreams and waking, the first threads of their nighttime adventure began to weave together: a hidden mirror, an ancient magic, and the promise of quietly discovering what the Mirror of Erised can really do. The quiet hum of the castle seemed to follow them as they stepped softly through the familiar halls, their footsteps light against the ancient stone floors. The warm glow of the floating lanterns drifted above them, their flickering reflections dancing faintly in the polished windows. It had been Hermione's idea, really, though Harry and Ron hadn't needed much convincing. Something about the way the old book had spoken of the Mirror of Erised, the hint of forgotten magic, of powers unexplored, had stirred their curiosity, not in the wild, adventurous way they so often found themselves tangled in, but gently, like the whisper of a hidden story, inviting them to listen, to look, to understand. The trio moved carefully along the quiet corridors, the portraits along the walls slumbering peacefully, their painted eyes closed in soft dreams. This part of the castle always feels different at night, Ron whispered, tucking his hands into the pockets of his robe as they turned down a narrow hallway. Harry nodded, his green eyes scanning the stone walls. It's like the castle's breathing, listening. Hermione walked a step ahead, the worn book clutched gently in her hand. It's older than most of the school, she murmured, the Mirror of Erised. Some say it was here even before Hogwarts, that it holds older magic. The words settled softly between them, like a gentle breeze stirring the edges of forgotten parchment. They moved quietly, turning corner after corner, their path guided not by certainty, but by quiet intuition, and perhaps by the castle itself. It was Harry who noticed it first. A faint shimmer along a stretch of the stone wall, so subtle it could have been mistaken for a trick of the lantern light, but it wasn't. The stones rippled just for a moment, as though a veil of magic brushed across them, and when it stilled, a narrow, forgotten doorway revealed itself, tucked between two worn tapestries. The three of them exchanged a quiet glance. Not fear, only quiet wonder. Harry reached for the door, his hand resting lightly against the cool, ancient wood. It opened without a sound, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling gently downward. The air beyond was cooler, carrying the faintest scent of old stone, of forgotten secrets, of magic left undisturbed. Step by step, they descended, the stone steps worn smooth beneath their feet. The distant hum of the castle fading into quiet stillness. The staircase opened into a small chamber, circular, carved from pale stone, its walls lined with tall, arched mirrors, each one dusty, aged, reflecting only faint glimmers of lantern light. But at the center stood the Mirror of Erised. It was just as Harry remembered, tall, its golden frame rising high above them, delicate carvings curling along its edges like ivy, the strange inscription running along the top, backwards yet familiar. Erised stra eru oit ube kafru oit on wosi. The mirror's surface shimmered faintly, not with glass, but with something softer, deeper, as though the space beyond its surface whispered with forgotten dreams. They stood quietly for a moment, letting the presence of the room, of the mirror, settle around them. Hermione stepped forward first, her gaze thoughtful, steady. "The book said," she began softly, "that the mirror reflects, but it also listens." Harry tilted his head, his heart beating gently in his chest. "Listens?" Hermione nodded. "It doesn't only show, it remembers." Ron rubbed the back of his neck. "Creepy. So, it's just been down here, remembering stuff? For how long?" Hermione didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the mirror, watching, waiting. Harry took a small step forward, the familiar ache in his chest gentle, quieter now, as he let his gaze drift across the surface. And then, the first twist revealed itself. The mirror didn't reflect the room, nor their faces. Instead, the glass rippled, like the surface of still water stirred by a soft breeze. And within the shimmering surface, an image bloomed, faint, yet unmistakably real. It wasn't a simple reflection, it was a memory. The image showed a young wizard, not Harry, not Dumbledore, but someone older, dressed in robes unfamiliar, their eyes wide with wonder, standing before the very same mirror long ago. The room hushed, the soft hum of ancient magic curling through the air like quiet breath. Hermione's voice was a whisper. "It's showing us the mirror's memory." Harry's green eyes widened slightly. The Mirror of Erised didn't only reflect, it remembered. They watched, mesmerized, as the image shifted, the young wizard tracing their fingers along the carved frame, their expression filled with quiet awe, and behind them, faintly, the ghostly outline of other figures appeared, more students, teachers, each one visiting the mirror, each one seen and remembered. The mirror was more than a reflection. It was a keeper of quiet stories, a witness to dreams long forgotten, wishes whispered softly into the shadows. The image faded, replaced by the gentle shimmer of the glass once more. The room fell still, the soft hum of magic steady, unhurried. Hermione turned toward them, her eyes sparkling with gentle understanding. "It doesn't just show us what we want. It holds those moments, keeps them safe." Ron exhaled, shaking his head faintly. "All this time, it's been watching?" Harry's gaze lingered on the mirror, the faint shimmer, the quiet magic woven into its surface. There was more. He could feel it. The Mirror of Erised wasn't finished, revealing what it could really do, and tonight they would listen, gently, patiently, as its oldest stories finally began to unfold. The quiet hum of magic still drifted gently through the hidden chamber, soft as a lullaby carried on the air. The mirror stood tall and steady at the center, its golden frame glowing faintly under the soft light of their wands. The shimmering surface no longer reflected their faces, but something older, something deeper. Quiet fragments of the mirror's own memories whispered gently into the room. For a long moment, none of them spoke. The magic settled, not gone, but waiting, patient, as though the castle itself held its breath. Hermione's fingers hovered near the edge of the frame, careful not to touch the glass. "It remembers them all," she whispered, "everyone who's ever stood here, all their hopes, their wishes, their quiet dreams." Harry's eyes softened as his gaze traced the familiar carvings winding along the top of the mirror. "And it shows us when it chooses." Ron gave a low whistle, his hand tucked deep into his robes. "Blimey, imagine how much it's seen." The mirror's surface rippled faintly once more, gentle waves spreading across the glass, and another image appeared. This time, it wasn't a memory from long ago, but from just moments before. There they were, Harry, Hermione, and Ron, standing in the very same chamber, watching the mirror. It was like watching themselves from the mirror's perspective, their quiet curiosity, their wonder, reflected not in real time, but remembered. Harry blinked softly. "It's showing us? Us?" Hermione's brow furrowed, thoughtful. "It's recording, right now." The realization settled over them gently, not alarming, but humbling. The Mirror of Erised didn't only show your heart's desire, it kept your longing, your wonder, your quiet hopes, tucked safely away, preserved like ripples upon the surface of a still lake. As the image faded, the room hushed again. But then came the second twist. The golden frame glowed softly, the carvings shimmering, and along the top of the mirror, the familiar inscription slowly rearranged itself, the letters curling, shifting, until the hidden message became clear. "Those who listen may see beyond desire." Hermione exhaled softly. The translation whispered aloud, "See beyond desire." Ron tilted his head. "Meaning, what exactly?" Harry's eyes lingered on the glass. He could feel it now, a quiet pull, like the mirror itself, inviting them to look deeper. And as they did, the mirror responded. The glass dosauger shimmered with memories of visitors or reflections of hidden dreams. Instead, it opened, not literally. No hinges creaked, no doors swung wide, but the surface of the mirror softened, like a pool of water, revealing something hidden beneath. An image formed, delicate, ethereal, impossible to explain. It was Hogwarts, yet not quite as they knew it. The castle stretched tall beneath a deep velvet sky, its towers reaching high, its grounds vast and quiet, but details flickered at the edges, impossible details, staircases that twisted into nowhere, doors that pulsed with faint light, shadows shifting gently where there should be none. It wasn't a reflection, it was a glimpse of the castle's hidden self. Hermione's eyes widened softly, her voice a breath. "It's showing us Hogwarts, Possibilities. Ron's brow creased faintly. Possibilities. Harry nodded, his gaze fixed upon the shimmering vision. Not what is, but what could be. The mirror pulsed faintly, as though in agreement, the quiet hum of old magic filling the chamber once more. It was showing them not desires, but potential. The hidden corners of the castle, forgotten passageways waiting to be rediscovered, doors unopened for centuries, secrets sleeping beneath layers of time and stone. And then, faintly, a soft glow appeared within the vision, a small golden doorway, half hidden behind an old tapestry, its edges lined with runes that pulsed like quiet heartbeat. Hermione's eyes followed it carefully. It's real. That door that's in the west wing, near the old charms corridor. Harry's brow furrowed gently, thoughtful. I've never seen it. That's the point, Hermione whispered. The mirror, it's guiding us. The image faded slowly, the mirror's surface settling once more into its gentle shimmer, its quiet hum steady in the air. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the revelation sinking in softly. The Mirror of Erised, more than desire, more than reflection, it was a map of sorts. Not to places, but to possibilities, to hidden spaces, forgotten stories, to the quiet magic that lives just beyond what most ever see. Ron's voice broke the silence, low, curious. So, we follow it? Hermione nodded gently, her expression calm, sure. We listen. We see beyond desire. Harry's eyes softened as he looked once more into the mirror's depths, the faint ripples of old magic still drifting across the glass. For the first time, he understood. The Mirror of Erised didn't grant wishes or manipulate hearts. It revealed, quietly, patiently, the forgotten paths, the quiet corners, the hidden possibilities that waited for those willing to look beyond longing, beyond dreams, and into the soft, steady magic of what could be. The hum of magic whispered around them as they stepped back from the mirror, the shimmering surface reflecting only the flicker of lantern light now. There was more to uncover. They knew that now, and gently, without urgency, they would. Together, they would listen, they would look, and they would follow the quiet invitation of the mirror to see beyond desire. The soft hum of magic lingered like a gentle echo as the trio stepped away from the Mirror of Erised, their footsteps light against the cool stone floor of the forgotten chamber. The faint shimmer of the mirror's glass settled into stillness once more, yet the quiet pull of curiosity, of unseen possibility, remained with them. The castle above was calm as ever, the walls breathing their ancient warmth, the portraits resting in their gilded frames, and the flickering lanterns casting pools of golden light along the corridors. But for Harry, Hermione, and Ron, the night no longer felt ordinary. It carried gentle promise, a promise that hidden behind forgotten walls, tucked quietly beneath layers of stone and time, the castle still held secrets waiting to be seen. If only they listened, if only they allowed themselves to look beyond what they expected. They made their way quietly back through the winding staircases, their wands casting a soft glow ahead. The familiar corridors stretched before them, yet each shadow, each silent alcove, felt charged with quiet mystery. Hermione's voice broke the stillness, low and thoughtful. The mirror didn't just show possibilities, it showed us a path. Ron adjusted the strap of his bag as they walked, his freckled face still carrying that sleepy wonder. "You think that golden doorway's really there?" Harry nodded, his hand brushing lightly along the cool stone wall. "It's not about whether it's there, it's about whether we notice it." The words settled gently between them, their quiet footsteps echoing softly as they made their way to the western side of the castle, the older corridors near the Charms Wing, where the walls were worn smooth by centuries of passing students, where the magic felt deeper, patient. They moved slowly now, their eyes lingering on every tapestry, every forgotten corner, listening, watching, not with urgency, but with the quiet care the mirror had shown them. And then they saw it. At first, it was only a flicker, a faint shimmer at the edge of a worn tapestry, its golden threads catching the lantern light just so. Hermione reached forward gently, her fingers curling around the edge of the fabric, pulling it aside. Behind it was the door, just as the mirror had shown them, narrow, its edges lined with ancient runes that pulsed faintly like hidden heartbeat, its surface smooth, golden, old, yet untouched by time. Ron exhaled quietly. "It's real." They stood in stillness for a moment, letting the presence of the hidden doorway settle around them. The castle was quiet, expectant, as though it, too, waited to see what they would choose. Hermione stepped closer, her hand hovering near the runes. "It feels gentle, like it's inviting us." Harry nodded softly. There was no sense of danger, only quiet curiosity, patient magic, waiting for those willing to see. Together, they pushed the door open. It creaked only faintly, the hinges smooth despite their age, and beyond stretched a narrow stone passage, its walls etched with delicate carvings, symbols unfamiliar, yet familiar in the way old magic often is. The air was cool, carrying the faintest scent of moss, of old parchment, of forgotten secrets. They walked carefully, their wands casting soft pools of light ahead, the passage twisting gently downward. The walls whispered with carvings as they passed, scenes of wizards and witches standing before the Mirror of Erised. Their hopes reflected not only in the glass, but in the castle itself. It wasn't just a mirror, it was part of Hogwarts. A keeper, not only of desire, but of possibility, of unseen doors, quiet passageways, hidden stories, waiting to be discovered. Further along the passage, the walls began to change. The carvings gave way to smooth stone, and ahead, the passage opened into a small chamber. Soft light glowed from within, gentle, golden, steady, like moonlight filtered through autumn leaves. In the center stood a pedestal. Upon it rested an ancient book, its cover worn, its surface etched with the same familiar runes that lined the hidden doorway. They approached slowly, their breaths soft, their hearts steady, the hum of magic gentle in the air. Hermione's hands brushed lightly along the book's surface, her brown eyes wide with quiet wonder. It's a record. Ron leaned closer, his expression curious. A record of what? Hermione opened the book carefully, the old pages crackling softly as they turned. Within were names, pages and pages, delicate ink faded by time, yet still readable. Names, dates, memories. Harry's eyes scanned the entries, each one a quiet record of those who had stood before the Mirror of Erised, of what they had seen, what they had wished for, what possibilities the mirror had revealed, and what choices they had made. It wasn't about granting wishes, but about showing the paths, quietly, patiently, for those willing to see. Hermione's voice was barely a whisper. It's been watching, guiding, for generations. They stood in stillness, the weight of the quiet truth settling gently around them. The Mirror of Erised was not only a reflection, but a gentle, steady guardian of hidden possibilities, guiding those who dared to look beyond longing, beyond fear, beyond expectation, into the quiet, patient magic of choice. Harry closed the book softly, his green eyes thoughtful, steady. "We choose," he whispered. "That's the real magic." The golden light pulsed faintly around them, the walls breathing with quiet, ancient magic, and the castle watched and waited. There was more to uncover, more hidden doors, forgotten pathways, quiet secrets whispered softly in the corners of Hogwarts. But tonight, they had taken the first step, not rushing, not forcing, but listening, seeing, and gently beginning to understand. The quiet, golden light of the hidden chamber settled softly around them, wrapping the space in a gentle warmth. The ancient book rested upon the pedestal, its worn pages whispering their forgotten stories, the air still humming faintly with old magic. Harry, Hermione, and Ron stood for a moment in calm silence, letting the steady presence of the place settle over them, like the castle itself was offering them time, space, to simply breathe, to listen. The glow from their wands flickered along the walls, illuminating the delicate carvings that surrounded them, winding lines of ancient runes, tiny etched symbols that spoke of forgotten spells, of quiet guardianship, of choices made long ago. Ron shifted slightly, his voice low, curious but careful not to disturb the peace. "So, what now? We've seen the mirror's memories, followed it here, found this book of names." His blue eyes scanned the pedestal, thoughtful. "What else is there to find?" Hermione tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her gaze lingering on the carvings. "It's not just about finding something," she whispered. "It's about choosing." Harry tilted his head, his green eyes following the lines of ancient symbols winding across the floor like quiet paths, gently inviting them to explore. It wasn't loud or obvious, but beneath their feet, the stone itself was carved with faint outlines, lines that led elsewhere. The room wasn't an ending, it was a beginning, a quiet space where decisions, gentle ones, opened hidden doors. They followed the faint carvings along the floor, their steps slow, unhurried, as the lines curved toward a narrow archway tucked into the far side of the chamber. The archway shimmered faintly in the soft light, its edges carved with familiar symbols, the same as the mirror, the same as the runes that lined the hidden doorways. Beyond stretched two paths. One led upward, winding gently toward the familiar halls of Hogwarts. The other curved softly downward into the unknown, deeper into the quiet heart of the castle, where forgotten stories waited patiently to be heard. They paused. No urgency, no pressure, only choice. Hermione's brown eyes shone softly in the golden light. The mirror, the book, they've all been about possibilities, showing us, reminding us that seeing isn't enough. We choose. Ron let out a quiet breath, his fingers tracing the smooth stone of the archway. Well, we've come this far. Harry smiled faintly, the weight of the choice settling gently in his chest. It wasn't about bravery or fear, it was about listening, about seeing the quiet paths and deciding where to walk. After a moment, they chose the downward path. The stone steps beneath their feet curved gently, each one worn smooth by time, by the footsteps of those who had quietly come before. Searching, listening, seeing. The air grew cooler as they descended, carrying with it the faint scent of parchment, of moss, of old magic breathing quietly beneath the castle walls. The passageway opened into another small chamber, this one round, its walls lined with shelves carved directly into the stone. Upon the shelves rested delicate glass spheres, each one glowing softly, tiny swirling clouds drifting inside them like captured mist. Hermione approached one of the shelves, her fingertips hovering near a sphere. "Memories," she whispered. Harry's eyes drifted along the shelves, like in Dumbledore's Pensieve. Ron frowned gently. But whose? The answer revealed itself before they could guess. The mirror, or perhaps the magic of the place itself, stirred faintly, and one of the spheres drifted gently from the shelf, hovering softly before them. Inside, an image began to form. A young girl, no older than themselves, stood before the Mirror of Erised, her eyes wide, her expression gentle, hopeful, and beyond her, faintly, the hidden doorways, the quiet paths, the choices she had made, visible for only a moment, then gone as the spheres settled back upon the shelf. The room, this space, was a library, not of books, but of choices, of quiet possibilities, seen by the mirror, carried gently by those willing to explore, and remembered. Ron gave a quiet laugh, shaking his head. "I'll never look at a mirror the same way again." Hermione smiled softly. "It shows us more than reflections, more than dreams. It offers us the chance to choose." The shelves stretched around them, glowing softly, each sphere a quiet story of possibilities, of hidden magic, patiently waiting, and tonight they had chosen to listen, to explore, to see. Not with urgency, but with care, with quiet wonder, with the gentle understanding that magic and discovery often begin softly. The gentle glow of the memory spheres filled the quiet chamber like the soft shimmer of distant stars, casting faint patterns of light along the smooth stone walls. The air was still, cool, yet somehow full of quiet life, as though the forgotten stories swirling gently inside each glass orb whispered softly, waiting to be heard. Harry, Hermione, and Ron stood in thoughtful silence, their eyes drifting along the shelves, their breathing slow, steady, the hum of old magic weaving gently around them. For a long moment, they simply watched, listened, letting the peaceful ancient space share its quiet truths. Hermione's voice, when it came, was barely louder than a whisper. This is what the mirror really does. Her fingers hovered over one of the glowing spheres, the mist inside swirling like clouds across a twilight sky. It doesn't only show you what your heart desires, it collects those moments, preserves them, and gently reminds the castle of the choices made. Harry's green eyes lingered on the delicate orbs. It remembers everyone who stood before it. Ron tilted his head, still watching the drifting mist inside a nearby sphere. But why? What's the point of keeping all these? Before Hermione could answer, the magic of the room stirred again, softly, calmly, as though the chamber itself was listening. One of the memory spheres floated gently from the shelf, its glow deepening, its mist clearing. Inside, an image appeared, this time not just a memory, but an answer. The three of them watched as the vision unfolded. A young witch, her robes unfamiliar, the style old, stood before the Mirror of Erised, her face a mixture of wonder and quiet hope. The glass shimmered, and within it, not only her deepest desire, but a path, revealed, a hidden door, much like the one they had followed tonight, opened gently behind her, a passage waiting, inviting. She had chosen to follow. The vision shifted, showing her walking through winding corridors, uncovering forgotten chambers, gently awakening the quiet magic tucked beneath the castle's foundations. And as she explored, the castle itself changed. Small things. A staircase shifted, a hidden window opened, a forgotten charm rekindled. Her choices, her gentle, curious courage, had woven themselves into Hogwarts, quietly, permanently. The mirror, the memory, had been more than reflection, more than longing. It had been the beginning of quiet change. The sphere drifted softly back to its shelf, settling into place, its glow steady, its whisper of old magic lingering in the air. Hermione's brown eyes shone with quiet understanding. It's all connected. The mirror, the memories, the hidden places. Ron exhaled slowly. The castle, it remembers the choices, builds on them. Harry's hand brushed lightly along the cool stone wall, feeling the faint pulse of magic beneath his fingertips. Steady, ancient, alive. The Mirror of Erised wasn't a simple window to hidden desires. It was a keeper of the castle's quiet evolution. It revealed what your heart longed for, yes, but also the paths to gently shape the world beyond the mirror. It offered possibilities and recorded the courage, the curiosity, the choices of those who dared to follow them. And slowly, softly, those choices wove themselves into the castle, into its secret halls, its quiet magic, its whispered stories. Harry smiled faintly, the truth settling over him like a warm blanket on a cool night. All this time, he whispered, the castle's been shaped, not just by spells, but by us. Hermione nodded, her gaze thoughtful, steady. By those who listen, who look, who choose. Ron rubbed the back of his neck, his voice still carrying that note of sleepy wonder. Guess, we've been part of that now too. They stood in quiet reflection for a moment longer, the gentle glow of the memory spheres washing softly over them, the hum of old magic steady in the air. The castle, the mirror, the hidden rooms, it had all been waiting, patient, for those willing to see beyond longing, beyond fear, beyond hesitation, and choose, gently, to explore, to change, to become part of the quiet story that weaves itself, slowly, into the heart of Hogwarts. And tonight, they had, not with grand spells or wild adventures, but with curiosity, with wonder, with care. And as they prepared to leave the hidden chamber, the magic settled once more, content, watching, knowing the quiet story would continue. The quiet hum of the hidden chamber faded softly into the background as Harry, Hermione, and Ron made their way back through the narrow stone passage. Their footsteps were light, their breathing steady, the gentle glow of the memory spheres still lingering in their minds like the soft shimmer of moonlight across still water. They moved slowly now, not because they were afraid, but because there was no need to rush. The magic, the stories, the quiet possibilities hidden beneath Hogwarts would always be there, waiting, patient, steady. The golden runes along the hidden doorway pulsed faintly as they passed through, the walls breathing gently around them, the castle settling into its ancient rhythm once more. Up the stone steps they climbed, the cool air brushing softly against their cheeks, the familiar hum of the castle's magic growing stronger with each turn. The hidden passageway opened quietly into the upper corridor, just as the first hint of dawn kissed the high windows, casting faint silver light along the walls. They paused for a moment, letting the peaceful stillness of the castle settle around them. It felt different now, not in any grand, obvious way, but subtly, like seeing an old friend from a new perspective. The same walls, the same towers, yet now woven with quiet, hidden stories, with the gentle knowledge that every corner, every corridor, every whisper of stone carried the soft imprint of those who had come before, who had dared to look beyond their reflection and gently choose. Ron stretched his arms above his head, his voice carrying the warmth of quiet wonder. Never thought a mirror could do all that. Hermione smiled faintly, tucking the ancient book gently beneath her arm. It shows, but it also remembers. Harry's green eyes lingered along the corridor, his hand resting lightly on the cool stone. And the castle listens. The familiar portraits along the walls dozed peacefully, their painted faces soft in slumber, the flickering lanterns casting faint golden halos along the arches. The castle breathed, quiet, steady, alive. As they made their way softly back toward Gryffindor Tower, the gentle magic of the night wrapped around them like a blanket, comforting, calm, full of quiet promise. The Mirror of Erised, its hidden memories, the secret pathways, would remain tucked safely beneath the castle, waiting patiently for the next curious heart, the next quiet dream, the next gentle choice. And for now, the trio carried the quiet magic with them, not in grand gestures, but in steady steps and peaceful hearts. The castle watched, listened, remembered, and all was calm once more. The soft corridors of Hogwarts stretched quietly behind them, the stone walls bathed in the early, silvery light of dawn. Outside, the castle rooftops rose steady and sure into the pale morning sky, their shadows long and peaceful upon the grounds below. Inside, the halls whispered softly, not with hurried footsteps or the chatter of lessons beginning, but with the steady, ancient hum of magic that had always lived here, quiet, patient, constant. And somewhere, tucked behind forgotten doorways, beyond curving stone passages, the Mirror of Erised rested once more, its golden frame cool beneath the gentle light, its surface calm, waiting. It would be there for the next dreamer, the next seeker, the next quiet heart, willing to see beyond desire, to listen, to choose, and the castle, as it always did, would remember. In Gryffindor Tower, the common room glowed faintly with the soft flicker of the dying fire. The chairs, the walls, the windows, all wrapped in the stillness that came just before the world stirred awake. Harry, Hermione, and Ron settled quietly by the hearth, their eyes heavy with the gentle weight of the night's quiet discovery. No grand adventure, no battles, only understanding. The greatest magic, they realized, often speaks in whispers, unfolds gently, and waits patiently to be seen. As the flames crackled low, their breathing slowed, their thoughts softened, carried by the quiet hum of the castle's ancient magic, into rest, into peace. And as you, dear listener, rest now, let your heart settle gently too. Let the quiet magic of this world, of hidden mirrors, forgotten paths, and whispered stories wrap softly around you. There is no rush, no urgency, only stillness. Sleep well, dream softly, and know the castle, the magic, and the stories will always be there, waiting. Good night.